Welcome to the show. You already know. Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to episode 106.
So we're rolling with it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just go.
Yeah, we're not redoing this. Once we start, we start. There's no pullback.
We start. There's no going back. There's
no pull out.
forward.
Wait, there's no pull
Tell
out?
you guys all the time. The windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason. There's no going back. So let's continue because we are on the second part of dating. Dun, 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 dun. That's for whether it's like
I feel like
either way.
Amber, I'm looking at you and I'm seeing it, and all I'm thinking is like, we need to have the background to that, like doors, riders on the storm.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know what she's talking about. Yeah. But speaking of backgrounds, we noticed off recording or before we started recording this, that you can see Amber's background, you can see my background, you can see all the nerddom that I am. I even cleaned out some of the nerddom today. You can't see Jillian because she decided to be
in a cave.
Okay. But we noticed Amber's, and we have a couple questions. Amber, the first question.
You spot the
pineapple. No, we found it. Here's what I want to know.
Okay.
How did an upside down pineapple become the universal symbol for swingers?
You know what? I've been wondering that too.
Because and I bring this up because the episode we're talking about is dating. And I have seen like upside down pineapples on dating apps. And I'm going, what the fuck? How did
I had a friend who used to do it, and she was like one day just talking about pineapples, and obviously me being, I just jump in the middle of conversations and I swim around and find out what's going on. I was like,
couldn't tell you did that.
And then
we
they got
into
the conversation of swinging, and I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, why do they associate swinging with pineapples?
Because back in the 60s and 70s, I do know it used to be, they were called fishbowl parties. And that would be where a group of adults, married couples would show up and they would throw their car keys into a fishbowl. And then the wives would go up and put their hand in, and whatever key they came out with, they went home with that person for that night. Like I'm like, okay, I can kind of get why you say, fishbowl party. Okay, fine, get that. Pineapple has nothing to do with this.
Was it a parting gift?
Maybe
the first swingers were like that awkward goodbye, and you're just like,
There's a pineapple?
Have a pineapple, and like they just started creating it based off of
then it's upside down. And I secretly hope that Jillian is looking this up on her phone, so that as part of her Google algorithm now is, why are upside down pineapples? Because from now, that's going to be part of her search history. And she's going to see ads for it. And I feel very superior to my life choices now.
Don't get stuck in swingers groups unless you're really interested now, Jillian. Because
boy, yeah.
Now you're on their radar.
But is it really swinging if you're single? Can you swing as a single person?
Yeah, you can be the one they sub in. You can be part of it. Like it's
when they
you
tap
may not be in
a throuple.
Essentially,
you're up.
Is that the throuple?
It could be a throuple. It could be and I know in the what is called the cuckold community, you could be the bull in that group, or you can be the I forget what the female equivalent of that is. I used to know. Important information for a pastor to know.
Okay.
Okay, tell us, Jillian.
Okay.
Mrs. Lane, hang on, let's do this correctly. Mrs. Lane, why is an upside down pineapple the sign for swingers?
Well, Lee, I am so glad you asked that. Let me tell you. While what we do know, because the origin is not very clear, however, the first swingers sailboat or cruise ship set cruise in around the time of the 1980s. And apparently, because cruises are associated with tropics and One very big tropical symbol is the pineapple. The swingers aboard the ship wanted a way to tell people when they were open for swinging. So they decided to take a pineapple, and being the little ingenious and mavericks that they were, they hung the pineapple upside down to recommend or to signify, that they were breaking free from the norms and the chains of society. Yes. So therefore, they took something that was very normal, the pineapple that we all recognize, and they decided to turn it on its head. Yes, as they were
Interesting.
turning monogamy in relationships on its head too.
Which is interesting too, because if you think about other tropical fruits, you know, if a coconut's upside down, still looks like an right side up coconut. That's interesting.
I wonder what the Hawaiians think about it, because that's a representation of a greeting for them.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they want to give the pineapple the right side up now. Because if
And
they
then
gave
like a
you the upside
banana,
down
you know, a
pineapple,
banana or
would you recommend that as an
plantains.
open invitation? I'm going to hand somebody a pineapple upside down and see what they say.
Are the swingers are the ones, did they invent? Let me restart that. Are the did the swingers invent pineapple upside down cake?
That's a great question, but no.
Your face. That was a high question. Look.
So if you were at a swinging party, would you bring an upside down pineapple cake?
And
Is
if you
that
do it right
considered
side
safe?
up, are you saying what? Oh,
Are you saying you no longer want to be involved?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look, we
maybe
got
that's
him
your
thinking.
going away cake.
Let's say if someone gives you a right
Retiring.
side, a right side up pineapple, are they saying we're done? Your services are
don't-
no longer needed.
They're
Come give
right.
me a hug, bud.
They don't want it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I mean, if it
don't worry, I
has a
got earbuds and he can't hear
reversal,
anything.
if it's upside down and that has a meaning, then
Yeah.
just like anything else, it would have a reverse. So
Exactly.
would it be like we're no longer in the game,
We're
or
no longer in the
you're no
game.
longer welcome in this group,
I'm not
or
doing this tonight, or yes.
we're retiring, happy swinging retirement?
Shut the door, please.
If there's any swingers out there, please
Yeah. Hit us up.
comment, send us an
Let us
email,
know.
let us know, because now we're all curious.
I know a swinger. We have to have them on the show, and the swinger happens to be a widow.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about this, because now I think it's piqued all of our interest, and Lee is over there really curious now.
Yeah, I like, by the way, how I went to like the thing that really intrigued me was the culinary side of it. It was like, oh, the pineapple, like that's what really got the reaction from me. It wasn't so much because I started thinking about other fruit, but that was more of a mere curiosity. But when the pineapple upside down cake came, I'm like, oh, and you know, what about
Swingers, calling all swingers, please hit us up. We would
Be
like to
careful
speak
how
with
you say that sentence. You
I
might get
apologize.
some responses you weren't entirely asking for.
Oh yes, this is true.
This
If
is
there are
strictly,
swingers who can give us some information and answer some questions for us,
this is
and would
strictly
like
a
to join
fact-finding
us,
mission.
this
This is
yes, this is an educational purpose conversation.
That's right. We're going to
like-
go to Thailand on a fact-finding conversation about some things. Yep, that's exactly it, Jillian. Yeah.
We need to find out.
But Jillian, I think you also
But
had
I
a question about
yes, I did have a
pineapple.
question about the pineapple. And it's so funny because who knew the pineapple was like the fruit and so many, I don't know, things that have to do with sex, because I've heard that guys believe that if a woman eats a lot of pineapple, she'll taste better. Like, I literally went out with a guy, right? And he literally was like, I think you should order pineapples. Now, mind you, we never engaged in that, but I'm like, why the hell should
Okay, it doesn't happen that fast. You don't just order a bowl of pineapple, eat it, and you taste better.
It runs through your system. I don't know, maybe it just runs through your system.
You have to
Okay.
ingest it, yeah.
But
So-
not that I've ever had any complaints, but I'm just
So-
saying.
You as a spokesman for all men, apparently, I will say that not all of us believe that. However, I could also see that being a bit of advice that was extrapolated and used very
Careless.
inauthentically in something like a Playboy article that somebody read when they were 12 years old, when they wanted to literally say, I read the articles. And so they took that one fact and ran with it. There is, if I recall correctly, there is something to be said about the food that we ingest does affect how our body, excretes different things, the pH levels, there are some evidence to that effect, but I don't know if it's a universal thing. But I can also say, any man who tries to tell you what to eat for that purpose, unless you guys agreed to that stuff earlier, get the fuck out. That's not a person you want to be around. That's an asshole who is trying to control everything about you, and that's not a lifestyle you want to be near.
That part.
Word.
So with that healthy transition, I'm actually going to now transition us to what we were going to talk about initially, not just pineapples and the use of them in the swinging community. Woohoo, swing on. But last time we talked, it was in regards to the question of when to date again. And we talked about what it felt like, to remember our story about how we met our significant other, and what it was like dating them in the past, because often as time goes on, we get rose-colored glasses about the past. We become nostalgic and we think, oh, everything was wonderful and everything was nice. It wasn't. We just are oblivious to how difficult it really was. And we talked about different aspects of that, but now we wanted to talk about not just when you're ready to date, but now the question of why. Why do you want to date? And so, Amber, I think we'll jump towards you to start with, because you wanted to make sure we talked about that pretty concisely and clearly from the word beginning. So, why do you want to date again?
Yeah, I think it's a very important question to ask, because since starting the group, even though it started as widowed in dating, that was, I guess the catcher, we could say, it was supposed to be more than that. I wanted to create a group where widows knew why they wanted to move on, not just wanting to move on, oh, because I'm used to being in a relationship, now I'm lonely, I'm sad, I want somebody, I miss sex, so I miss going on dates, so I miss that. No, but why? Because you can take yourself on a date. You can love on yourself. You can make yourself a wonderful dinner. You cook your own meals anyway. You have to pay your own bills anyway. Like, why do you really want to start dating? Is it companionship? Because companionship is having a friend. A companionship is having somebody to travel with, to go try new restaurants with, to have real conversations with. That's a companionship, right? We could be companions. But when you're dating somebody, you're allowing them into your personal world. You're allowing them into, if you want to look at it, I'll just stick with it this way. Let's look at it as an onion. You got to peel the layers back, right? Just like we have to get to know each other. Other people, I don't know why you're laughing. Why?
Because you brought it up last time too. You were really keen on the layers and onions analogy. It shows up again and again.
Oh, well, then that's what I'm sticking with, because it's true. There's truth behind
aside
it.
from Baked Bros, onions are going to be the other sponsor for us.
Yellow,
There you
white,
go.
red. Yes.
Oh, let me turn it right so you guys can see.
Oh, don't worry. I got a good picture. I already found one. I've been using it.
Don't forget your Cindy. No, I use it because it's very true. Because all of us have different emotions. We have different personalities that we don't show everybody. I got angry sides, I got happy sides, I got excited side. All of it. We all have it. But it's a matter of, are you really ready to let somebody else into that? Are you really wanting to take that time again to get to know somebody else, to have them get to know you, to have to do all that? Or I'm just asking, this is why I'm asking why. Or do you want to take the time to do that all for you now. Because like you just said a moment ago, we like, our brains like to do this whole, oh no, my spouse was perfect. Oh, they were lovely. Oh, they treated me so kindly. They did everything for me. All the stuff I don't know how to do now is because they did. Okay, but what about the ugly? What about the real cold, hard truths? What about the times that you stayed up crying because your spouse didn't come home? What about the nights that you were pissed off because they were calling you out your name? What about the times that they just sat around and wouldn't help you, even though they saw you running around trying to do everything for you? What if your spouse just sat there and looked at you and was like, okay, and I cook dinner and you do whatever you want? Because the ugly goes on both sides for men and women. But at the end of the day, going through all that and really sitting and reflecting after the marriage, whether you were in a marriage for one day or if you were in a marriage for 30 plus years, do you really want to take the time now to go out and try to find that all over again? Because that's what dating is, right? Dating is trying to find a person to spend your life with, to spend your time with. That's what dating is.
I
Unless
say
you're
spend
looking
your
at
time as opposed to spend your life, but definitely spend time with. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But so I see the look in your face, Jillian. But are you dating with intention on what? What are your intentions on dating? Are you doing it just to have fun, just to meet people, to live in your life? Great, whatever. Are you dating, like you said, to find your partner? But at the end of the day, why are you wanting that? And what is it that you're exactly looking for? That might have to go into another topic or like part 3 or something. But the serious question is why? So I've already told you guys on the last part, I'm not ready. I don't want to date. So I'm gonna ask you two. If you two are open, why do you, or even we can even go into the why would you want to date? And what is your real hard reason? What are you getting from it that makes you say, yeah, this is why I want to go do that?
Is this my
Jillian, why
turn?
don't you answer first because you had some thoughts I could see churning as Amber was talking, and so it might be a good segue to have some of those thoughts and then go into your answer to that question too.
So, I know that every marriage is different and, every experience is different. And that's one thing whereas I don't sensationalize my husband by any means, because, I know that he definitely had his flaws, but, he was a good man. Like he was like in all the years of marriage, I never had to wonder where he was. I never had to he was there every single night. He like he would never. I like Avery, my daughter said to me the other day, like, "Mommy, did Daddy ever curse? Because I never heard Daddy curse." And and she passed when she was 9, and I had to be like, no, your dad hardly ever curse. Like the
Did
worst your
you
dad would
see? You
say.
can't tell the truth, which is only when he was with me, honey, and the door was shut.
Not even then, and I wanted him to. Like, I'd be like, "Damn it, Richard! Like, can you This is the time where you could call me a fucking bitch," and But he was like, "I'd never call you that, Jillian," because that's just who he was. But but no, he definitely did have his flaws.
Mhm.
But he was really good. So when I look at dating, now grant you, Amber, I think I'm more leaning towards your corner in terms of relationship. Like, I don't think I want any more relationships because in going into this, when I first started dating, I think that I was coming from a standpoint of wanting a relationship or wanting that companionship or wanting, and I was reading this article one day about how widows, we love because we know also how good it can be and how good that feeling can be, so we seek to really recreate that or experience that again. And so widows sometimes have a tendency to fall harder, and I think that when I first out the gate started dating, I would say that was definitely me. Like I loved love. I loved the idea of I still love love. Don't get me wrong, but I think after just experiencing a lot of the things that are out here, like I choose now to not date with the intention of relationship, but with the intention to have fun, to get out of the house and just enjoy what life has to offer. And so that's the goal of my dating, now. Um but I will say this though. I love men. Men, if you're watching this, I love y'all. Like, there's just nothing like to me a man. Like, being manhandled and hugged and kissed and loved on and like there's just I don't know. I'm getting myself hot thinking about this.
I say she's gonna pet herself again like she did in the last episode.
Right.
Oh, my husband. Oh,
No,
oh.
but I just like I love men and I know that there are good men out there, but I do definitely know that there are enough bad men out there too that make
Mm.
it hard to weed through the shit to find the good ones. But I'm one of those people who has not given up on the fact that there are good ones out there, you know, and I am not ready to just toss all men aside yet. Still have hope for you guys.
I
But
said, yeah, I'm dead.
well, yeah, I haven't. I'm not sick of being sick or fed up of being fed up yet, yet. But I date because I love men. I do. I can't stress that enough. About there's just nothing like a good man. I'm sorry.
But I want to come back to that. I'm gonna come back to that.
I
Lee.
see how Amber's taking notes now. See?
Oh yeah.
Y'all learned
Oh.
from me. I did something good.
Well, here's the thing. I've always been a note taker, but I've always taken them when like for a job or something, but I'm always taking mental notes.
Mm-hmm.
But those notes come up when I don't need them.
Yeah, but
So
we
I'm like,
also watched you chase your thoughts across the sky a couple minutes ago. So taking notes is
thoughts
probably a
float,
wise
okay?
idea.
Don't thoughts float. Okay. That's okay. Well, you'll be all right. You enjoyed it. You got it recorded. You can live happily ever after now.
And moving
To
on.
answer the question from my side,
Thank you.
So as I think I shared in a previous episode, but I'll summarize real quick. I had at about the 7-month mark, I was feeling what I now recognize as the widow's fire. I did not recognize it at that point because I had never heard that term. I didn't know it was a thing. And so I, being the progressive man that I am, was very intentional about the dating app that I chose. I didn't want it to be one where, jackass men stood out all the time. Turns out they're everywhere. It doesn't matter what fucking app you're on, they're always everywhere. And so I did Bumble for about a month. Talked to a few people, did end up going on a date. And the person was very sweet, very kind, but I was not in that. I should not have been there. And it wasn't them, it was entirely me. I didn't realize what was going on. So over the past couple months, in just a serendipitous set of conversations not connected to one another, there have been places where the idea of dating has come back up again, and my initial response has always been, oh god, no. It's like no. Yes, I want to have someone to talk to. I want to have someone to laugh with. I want to have somebody I can trust, because for me, trust is not something that is earned easily. It is definitely earned over time. It's unfair to the person. I recognize that. And I know it's who I am. And so I was like, well, okay. I again got to thinking about, it's probably unfair to try and assume that I'm going to find that person without at least practicing dating for a little bit. Because when I met my wife, I, had been kind of seeing people kind of not for a couple years. So I had some practice, for lack of a better term. And I don't even mean from the sexual side of it. I just mean just that, relationship side of it. And so I got to thinking about it. And I'm like, shit, if I go into this cold, or I don't want to be like the old timer going to the All-Star game. I can hit these whippersnappers. You bring that 97-mile-an-hour fastball. I hit Satchel Pages. Oh, shit, that one went past me. I don't want to be the equivalent of that individual. The
I never want
voices
to
are
see
fun.
that individual again.
Yeah.
Please.
Oh, crotchety man. Oh, I shit my pants. I realized then I probably need to interact in a different way. If for no other reason, I think about job interviews. Not that it's a great comparison, but I've had job interviews where it's like, I'm not fucking working here. But I did the interview because it gave me practice. It allowed me to get dialed in kind of what I wanted, how I wanted to answer questions. And so I'm like, look, if I get a chance to talk with people, okay, fine, I'll do that. So let's give it a go. And so I looked at Facebook dating for a little bit. That just was not for me. Not knocking it. It just, I don't think it was for me. That's probably not where I will go to. But if I'm looking for something potentially short term for the sense of kind of practice, then Tinder was the one where I've been kind of looking at a little bit. I have a profile up there on Tinder. And maybe it's because I've already seen some crazy shit between Bumble and Facebook dating that I'm not as surprised by some things. I'm still surprised. I'm still entertained. But I'm just like, okay, then. No, thanks. There are people who I would really enjoy getting a chance to sit down and talk to. But until they message back, I can't do anything about that. And so it's like, okay, just keep trying. That's what that comes down to. Which also means I have to battle the rejection fear that I have, or the fear of rejection. Let me use words correctly. If I use them in the correct way, they make a whole lot of sense more, don't they? The
Yes,
point
You
is,
can pronounce yours.
yeah, seriously. I told my wife many years ago that the first time I went to give her a kiss, I said, if you had said no, I said, or if you had, backed away, which is well within her right, I said, you'd have never heard from me again. She said, what? Why? I said, because I'd have been too embarrassed to even try talking to you again. It wouldn't have happened. Now, that's a self-worth anxiety thing, to a degree. And so I'm not saying I'm going to lead into every, day with, hey, let me kiss you, see how this works. But to the same end, I am also aware that there's going to be trial and error, and trust people to give me the grace that I would give them if they make a mistake. So to a certain end, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I want to just redirect and
Yeah.
not to redirect like this is a courtroom, but I don't even know if redirect was the right word, but it sounded
I
right.
don't know, but I'm nervous now.
Wait, I have a question. Lee, what is with your light?
The one back here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
I'm
Go ahead,
like-
Billy, and ask her.
Oh.
Yeah, it was annoying the shit out of me. I don't know what it was doing. I
It's
noticed that
glowing.
halfway through talking, and I was getting
Glowing.
annoyed. So
Oh.
Yeah, no, it wasn't really a question, but I just wanted to clarify something that I said earlier with my whole "I love men" thing.
Oh no, hold on, wait. We're gonna get to the clarifying because I got some
No.
questions.
Wait, you don't ask the questions in this. Lee asked the question.
Amber can ask what, hold on. First of all, Amber can ask whatever Amber wants. Go
I'm
ahead,
just
clarify,
saying.
'cause you
like,
may go ahead and have me ask more questions.
Okay. No, I want to say like I love men, but I want to qualify that and say like I love good men. And me saying that doesn't mean that everybody who asks me out or everybody who asks me for my number, everybody who asks to whatever gets to, just because like I love men. No, because I've seen there's so much, and this is one of the things about dating. I mean
Mm.
out here, I mean there's so much lying, there's so much just misrepresentations, there's so much lack of communication, there's so much trauma, there's so much baggage, there's so many things that you sometimes have to wade through in trying to find that person. It's like
Mhm.
wading through all that shit, to try to find that one good person, right, within that. And so as much as I love men right now, I'm not willing to wait. I'm tired of wading through the shit. Like I'm tired of wading through the shit. And I'm much happier right now on the side of the cesspool, you know, just sitting, looking, and taking a break. But that doesn't mean that, like, I think all men are horrible. All men are, but no, I just, right now, I'm taking a break.
So
I've tapped out.
what do you constitute a good man? What is a good man?
To me, number one, a good man is someone
Wait,
who,
hold on. I know it's to you, but if we all men should be holding men accountable, and all women should be holding women accountable. We should all have each other's back. So if you're gonna have a good man, all women should have a good man.
of
So
course,
what is a good man for women?
I don't,
Pause.
I
I don't want to cut off
without
Jillian.
me.
I want to recognize one aspect of this real quick before Jillian answers, because not everybody is attracted to the different sex. Some are attracted to the same sex. So whenever we're talking about having, attracted to a good man or a good woman, the idea is, I think, what makes a good person for you. So I just want to make sure we clarify that, because I believe that there are some within our community and just, I know there are many in the world who are not, their sexual orientation is different than mine, and so this is not unique to just us, I think, as well too. So I just want to make sure I clarified that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
so
So let's say let's make this a general question. So let's stick to like key points, what makes a person, and then what would be a good person in your aspect. So then it would lead into the question of what is a good man for Jillian.
I feel like this could be an essay, but let me start
Just a
writing
couple. We
because
don't have to
no,
run down like
no,
everything.
because it just helps me think better. Because when you're kind of just, I don't want to say put on the spot, but like off the top of my head, these are the things that just jump right out at me, and I'm gonna try and say this to be as general as like I can. But number one, I think there has to be honesty. Someone who is honest, someone who can effectively communicate, someone so honest, effectively communicate, someone who's committed and loyal. I think those are the same thing. Someone who has a healthy response to adversity. Because how you respond to adversity is always a very true sign of character.
Okay, give us one more, and then I want you to answer what is a good man to Jillian.
Well, I would say all of the above that I've just named, but hold on, let me give you one more. Honest, effectively communicate, and just team player. Team player. I mean, I could have a whole other discussion of what team player is, but I think that any person you date, well, not dating doesn't matter, but any person that you seek to, yeah, I guess even dating, any relationship you have with somebody, that person needs to be an effective team player and, knows that it's about the team. It's about the team. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about the team. And someone who can recognize that, I think that that's definitely like a trait that makes a good partner. I have more, but I got 5, so I'm gonna stop at 5. And you said maybe one more, so that would be the one where I'm gonna stop.
But what's a good man to Jillian?
Someone who embodies all of those traits that I just listed and more.
Okay, well, aside from that, because we said that's what general for people. So if that's general, then now we step into the personal aspect of it.
But for me, someone who could laugh, like someone who makes me laugh, like, so I guess that would be one. Someone who makes me laugh. Intelligence. Someone who also has compassion. Someone who takes risks. Someone who's assertive. Someone who's a protector. I mean, we could be here for the next, write it down.
What
Jillian,
became
that's what I
dating
love.
part 2 became Jillian gets her man.
Yes, I get my specific man. I mean, I would say also spiritually grounded. That's important.
Lee,
In
is there
timeout.
anything that
They've made God mad, so now they're in timeout. They're grounded.
Huh? Yes.
They're grounded because
exactly.
they're in timeout.
Grounded, yes. They're
They
bad
made
boys.
God mad.
Time out. I want you. Hear you, bad boy.
Lee, is there anything that you would add to the general list?
So the general list is I was jotting these down as we were going along, and they're echoes, I think, of what some of the stuff Jillian said. But for me, the generalizations are honesty first and foremost, and not just because that's a basic human trait, but for me, it's because that's how I think I wrote in my profile at one point. I'm like, I'm going to trust you to be. I'm going to assume you're honest with me until you give me a reason not to. I lead with trust in that regard. Patient, forgiving, and humble are some of the general things with that. Now, I don't mean humble like, oh, they aren't aware of how amazing they are. I think I want somebody who knows how humility isn't about a poor self-worth. It's about knowing who you are, the strengths you possess, the areas of growth you would like to work on, and the fact that you're not the center of the universe. That to me is that. Now, when you get specifics, there are a few specifics I really do drive towards. And Jillian, when she said about the humor, I'm like, yeah, you have to make me laugh. Now, I laugh easily, I admit that. But if you can get me to get that good big old belly laugh where you caught me off guard, okay, you've been paying attention. That tells me you've been paying attention. The second thing is health conscious. And that I know exactly what that's from. I don't care if you're a gym rat. Actually, I might worry if you're a gym rat, because that to me screams of other concerns I might have. But just be aware. And I know that's a direct response to what I went through for the final 5 years of my wife's life. The fact that I had to be the one so often. And so I don't want to do that. I don't, in sickness and in health, I get it. But please do your part to keep care of yourself. I want somebody who's wise. We use the term smart, and I can only separate them this way. I'm on a volleyball team, and the team that I'm with has some of the smartest human beings I've ever seen, and yet we struggle to get the rotation down right. Why? Because we have to have so many girls on the court at one time. And so it's kind of like a counter rotation going on. And at one point, I'm looking at us, I'm on the side, and I look at the one guy who's on my team, and I said, we have so many degrees on this court and we can't figure this out. How many degrees are on this court? And he, being the mathematician and physicist that he is, looks at me and goes, what, you mean in a circle? No, damn it. I don't mean 360 degrees like a circle. I mean academic degrees. Oh, that to me is kind of the fun there, what I'm talking about. Like degree wise, tons of wisdom, practical life skill. Like to me, wise is that balance of both what I would maybe call street smarts and book smarts. I want that. That's wisdom. I want that. And somebody who's self-assured. Because that's somebody who, again, I can trust their yes to be a yes and their no to be a no. And that if I, if somebody does something to them or they know what they are, they know who they are, and they're not strutting around like, I know what I got. No, you're just putting up a shield. But they know, no, I know who I am. That to me are specifics. That's personality wise. So
What about you, Miss Amber?
mhm.
What would you add to that list?
Yeah.
And if you describe the salesman for Baked Bros in particular, that's not going to help you get a sponsorship deal. I'm just going to tell you.
You don't know that.
That's true. That's true. That could get her the sponsorship deal.
Fine.
I've been told I'm really cute in person, so you never know. Anyway, I definitely agree with the honesty. I think that's the hardest one though, because everybody says they're honest and then everybody's putting on the front.
It's like
So
everybody
that-
says they want transparency and they're not.
Yeah, I
transparent.
love the
And they
I'm
can't
honest,
get
and yet they have a filter for every single one of their profile
Yeah.
pictures. That pisses me off.
Yeah, for sure. So that one is definitely a big one. Honesty and trust. I look for those two. I think in dating, I give I give a timeline. Like you got so much time to show me the opposite of what you just told me. Because I have no problem with being transparent with you. I want you to be, even if it hurts, at least give me the respect enough to make the decision based off of what you're telling me. And that's where that truth and honesty comes in. Because if you're gonna dig deep to tell me something fucked up, and I'm just like, oh, okay, get upset, then walk away with it. We live our life. But you don't know. I'm a very understanding person.
Mhm.
Like if you sit down and just, okay, let's talk about this. Cool, let's talk about it. I understand life happens. I'm not a fucking perfect person. I can sit here and run down the fucked up shit I've done in life, and y'all be like, Amber, yes, I've done some stuff. Like I'm not proud of it, but I can be honest about it, because if I'm not honest, I can't grow. So therefore, that leads me to somebody. I need somebody who's willing to do the self growth. I
And
need somebody who is willing to be honest with themselves and me as their partner. And I hope that they would receive what I give to them so that we could grow together. Because if you're telling me something, if I'm sitting here saying, look, I need this from you, which leads me into understanding, would be my third one. I need somebody understanding. And not, and that this goes for me, understanding goes with listening, because you listen to respond, but you hear to understand. I need somebody who hears me to understand me. Not just somebody who listens and then they come up with their own conclusion, their own perception, and then we're going from there. Because that's not how in my eyes a relationship should work. Because the same way you come to me, and I'm going based off of my experiences, the same way that you want me to be there is the same way I would expect that from my partner. Because in a relationship, whether people want to agree 50-50, 100-100, all in that, there are just basic levels of respect that you give your partner. And one of those is the honesty, the effective communication, the truth, the understanding. You have to be able to look at it from both sides. And if you can't sit down and take the time to listen to me for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, go off on my rant, whether I'm crying, whether I'm super excited, whatever it is, then I can't, because you're not listening to me to understand. You're listening to respond or just get something from me. So those are my important. That's what I would
You
add.
know, it's so funny because when you were talking about honesty, one of the things that is really big for me, because I always feel like when you're not honest with me, when you don't sit down and level with me about what's going on, it's like you completely strip me of my ability to make a choice or have a decision because you don't know. I might have been like I am extremely open.
Yeah.
You know, I can't say anything goes. You know, I
But
can
at
say
least
I'm
have
an
a
extremely open
talk about it.
person. Yeah, and just be upfront, hit me with it, and let me decide because you may be pleasantly surprised. You know,
Right.
but when you choose to just be dishonest and keep things from me, you strip me of my ability to make a choice. And you know, I'm a firm believer, and I always tell my daughter, the truth is like the sun; it will ultimately always come out. Like, you know, I don't care how stormy it is. I don't care how many days of rain, how many days of whatever. The sun will always come out, and so will the truth. I
Right.
you
Lies
know,
take too much work to keep them up. It's just
Yeah.
it takes too much.
Yeah, my father always told me, you tell one lie, you got to tell another to cover that lie up. You got to remember the first lie, the second lie, then you got to
Yep.
remember every other lie after
yeah.
that.
And that's so crazy because it's the same thing we say in our family. But it's basically just like if you tell the truth, you never have to worry about remembering what you said.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
That's
true.
exactly it.
You one of the things that is interesting as well too is as we've been talking here, it became very clear to me that this would be a three-part episode. And that's fine. The why to date, I think, is important because one of the things that was kind of underlying all of what three of us said is the phrase "know thyself." And I think it's important for a couple reasons. Amber, you talked about the when you reference the past. Oh my, I never had to do anything, he always did it, she always did it, that's why I don't know how to do anything now. There's a part of me that says that's unhealthy from a codependency standpoint.
Yeah.
If your partner isn't helping you learn how to grow for yourself, and I don't mean as a new age thing. I look at who, people are from decades ago, generations ago. When there was a couple that was a successful couple, they helped each other develop and grow. If you didn't have that with your partner, I'm not knocking the relationship. What I'm saying is you now have an opportunity to do a different approach,
Mhm.
and it might be a good idea to do it.
Yeah.
And that's why the term of know thyself comes up, because if you were rendered helpless because your partner did everything. I know there's a lady at the church I work at, sweetest human being in the world, heart of pure gold, doesn't know how to do anything because her husband did it all. And he died 15 years ago. And ever since then, she's been trying to learn. She's never been equipped to do it, not from her family and not from her marriage.
Yeah.
But I give her, I want to say this. If she has been alone during the whole time and really worked on it, then I mean, that is truly awesome and a credit to her because there are a lot of people who wind up finding themselves in that predicament as widow or widower, and they bounce from relationship to
Yep.
relationship to
Yeah.
relationship, trying to get somebody else to fill that
Mm-hmm.
when, if she's taken the time to try and learn how to do all those things herself and for herself,
Mm-hmm.
that's huge.
Yeah, I'll
That's
give her credit. She's trying. She's struggling. And it's you gotta explain things multiple times, but it's like, hey, if she's trying, I got
Yeah.
patience for trying. I always have patience for effort.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that really is what led me to the whole why though. Because just
Mhm.
like Jillian said, people jump relationship to relationship to relationship. And in the midst of it all, everybody's bringing their bigger baggage right behind them. Everybody's got to go get bigger suitcases because they got one more thing to pack in there. And when you
Mhm.
get into that, by the time you get into it, you are codependent on that person. You get into a relationship with that person because you see something in them or you know something about them that you can benefit from. And that's why I ask, why is it you really want to date? And this is something that I'm gonna really start bringing up in the group as well, is let's really dig into why. Because I
Mhm.
hear a lot of widows always saying, well, I miss somebody laying next to me. Oh, well, I'm just tired of being alone. Oh, well, I need somebody to do this around the house. You can hire somebody to do that around the house for you. You can go on YouTube University and go figure it out how to
Mhm.
DIY it.
And because you know why too, Amber? I'm sorry to say this, and this may not be the case for everyone, each and every single last one of them, but it's the case for enough of them. It's like because our society tells us we're not supposed to be alone.
Right.
Everything is geared towards finding the person, falling
Yeah.
in love, finding new love,
Yeah.
rekindling love. Like everything, in society tells us
And
you need somebody else. And for
and I'm
some
not
people,
against it.
I think no, I mean we're not against it. I don't think anyone's against it, but like you said, like you have to go into it. And as Lee said, both of you said, like knowing thyself, knowing you, having spent time with you,
Yeah.
and really knowing what you want, or be prepared to go on this journey of experiment and learn. But you have to go into it whole, because if you start dating at a deficit, you'll settle.
Yeah.
You'll wind up settling for
Yeah.
mediocre just to have something. Whereas if you are selective and intentional,
Yeah. And then within that, you attract what you are.
yeah,
And normally when we're in those states, we're not in a very positive mind state. We're not on a very good positive vibration. So we're gonna attract the lower of the low. We're gonna attract, the ones who can't read for nothing. We're gonna attract the ones, that are out here shaking their booty on doing whatever app. We're gonna attract the ones that are out here just spreading their seed all over the place, the backpack boys, and the no good, just whatever. We're not gonna get onto all that.
no,
But the
but then you
point
know what?
is,
It's crazy because some of these women out here will be very happy to have those people and be like, but they're staying. They're not going anywhere. They're
yeah,
here. They're
but
always. But it's like
And
they're
that's
always there because they have no.
and
and
the
that's
dating
right.
part of what again, this gets back to know thyself, is because for those who are in those moments, who are in those situations, they don't move, if they don't move on, they stay with the quote unquote bad men. They're also making a choice. I'm very
Bad
keen on
women.
seeing,
Yeah,
Bad women.
that no,
there's
unless there's a
definitely,
gun to that person's head, they're staying there. Unless it's an abusive relationship where the dynamic has shifted so wildly
yeah,
that you can't leave, the person's choosing to be there, which then tells me, why did you stay that long?
and it goes both ways.
Uh,
Men because they want a place to stay. Girls is because they see this man with so much money, she don't want to
and
go get a job.
self-esteem issues
All
and
that.
confidence issues and
But I'm speaking more to the ones that are sane, and
Mhm.
and they have their life for the most part, as much as we can as humans have our life together in this insane world. But when it comes to the ones who are really wanting to date, I would like for them just to sit down with themselves and take a look at it. Like, what is it that okay, the companionship, everybody wants that. That's something wonderful to have that we all should have, right? Jillian, so like, oh, let me
Jillian, what the hell kind of look was that? I have never been so alarmed in one moment. You stopped Amber cold. She had a great rank, and your look just went,
I did.
excellent. You pulled Mr. Burns and Corella
Yeah.
DeVille into one look, and I think I am scared out of my mind.
No, but Amber knows what that means. Amber, tell him what that means. When I do that, what does that mean? I have a what?
She's got an idea.
I have an idea. I do.
Because we've had, see, this is the thing, right? Everybody has self-worth. And when you have your mastermind group, when you have the people that trust you and you love them and you can trust them and you can go to them and have real open conversations with, and you can be honest with them no matter how hard it is, we do these things. Jillian, Em, and I, we do these things. We sit down and we call each other out on our bullshit. And Julian has been called out on some of her bullshit, and she realized it's something that she just has to work on for herself. Because when she would get an idea, she would interrupt us all and fly off and then give us all these
Because it
ideas, and
would
we're
be
just
the
like,
ultimate
"Whoa!"
best idea.
We're like, "Let's bring it back. Let's grab a journal and write the ideas down." So it's a work in progress. Like we all have it. We all have our vices. I need to work on my patience. I'm very aware of this. This is why I can't be in a relationship because I would literally drive a man up the fucking wall. At this point in life, I know I would. And part of it, I would do it just to be petty on purpose because that's where I am in life. But that's self-awareness. I know where I am on my journey right now.
Yes.
But I just
Not a
in
virtue.
in all seriousness though, for those really looking to date, I do want them to sit down and really have that open conversation with themselves and ask why. Why is it that I'm wanting to have somebody in my life so bad? Why is it that I want to share the rest of my life and my personal time and do what I want and give them my free time? I can pick up, or if you're able to throw a dart at the map and that's where you're flying to. That's just something I want to do one day. FYI, it's on my goal list. If I were in a relationship like that, that would hold me back. And that's just knowing me. But I really want people to sit down and why and look at it. Are you looking at it because you need a void to fill? Are you trying to date for intentions of looking for somebody to come into your life because you're just needing to be touched on because you don't like the feel of sleeping alone at night? There's big body pillows for that. They're amazing. I'm just saying. The self-love and self-care, I just feel is extremely important before we go diving into dating and go date to have fun. Go date, just like Lee said, as an experiment to really, just practice it, just like as you would a job interview. But the intention of it needs to be clear and concise. It needs to be honest. Because and that's what we just said, the number one thing everybody wants from somebody is honesty. Give yourself honesty first.
Where were we?
Yeah, that's always the fun thing. Now, the reason I think, folks, that we wanted to make sure we talked about the why we're dating is because maybe we didn't before. Maybe in our previous relationships, we just kind of inadvertently did it. We didn't intentionally do it. Well, we're all at different stages now. Most of us don't have the luxury of innocence or luxury of ignorance, where we can just step into things and assume it'll work out. We have to be far more intentional, whether it's because we have little children relying on us, or we are in different parts of the world, or we are wounded and we want to make sure we're careful and cautious. We really need to be advocates for ourselves before we can willingly engage in a relationship with others. The line I use for a lot of couples to remind them of the importance of self-awareness is the sense of an ambulance. And I think I referenced this in the last episode. Ambulances go for maintenance on a regular basis. Why? Because they know that to respond effectively, to be able to be present and help in a situation, they need to make sure everything works and everything is stocked. Whenever you take time as a person to know yourself and explore the things that make you mad, the things that you're afraid of, who you are now versus who you were then, it's not about checking a box that says I did the work. No, it's about knowing that you did the work. It's not proving it to anybody else. It's knowing that you did it yourself.
Yes.
And the confidence that you will have from that is because you will have learned something about you that you may have been either afraid of or unaware of. And I think that's important when you talk about being in a relationship, because if nothing else, it is a great way to minimize the chances that you'll end up in a shitty relationship. It won't always work that way, but it will really help out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be in a healthy relationship with yourself
Mm-hmm.
before you can be in a healthy relationship with anyone else. Because if you go in with holes and voids, thinking somebody else is going to come in and fill those and save you in any kind of way, you're leading yourself up for disappointment. Because people see that and they take advantage of that. And that's why there's so many, in my opinion, so many effed up relationships now, and people so tired of it is because we've never been taught to self-care. We've never been taught to, hey, get to know yourself, take care of yourself, get your own business, get your own stuff first, then go find that so you guys can come together and continue building off of that. Nobody's been taught that. That's what we need to start focusing on. And that's what we're going to start focusing on. The real questions.
And I think a lot of it too just comes from, well, everything just stems from like what we think, like our thoughts and the questions that we ask ourselves, and like the positive versus negative self-talk that goes on inside of our heads. Like for real, I mean, we have to really make sure that we are pouring in and to ourselves and our self-talk, and that it's positive and that it's uplifting, and the things that we say, because you know our thoughts become our words, and it just all, and our words are our actions, and it just all takes off from there. And you know, you're right, before we go into the dating world, before we set out, we have to have that like talk, we have to take that inventory, we have to pause, we have to really, you know, make sure that we are going into the dating world from a place of like wholesomeness and strength
Yeah.
and patience, like we're not rushing, we're not rushing a relationship,
Yeah.
we're just patient, we're living in the moment, we're taking our time, we're being smart, you know, but at the same time we're taking enough risks. But that only happens when you like stop and you like you said, we've said, you know, do the work on yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, a couple things here too for this particular episode, because I do think we're coming to a nice conclusion. We've been doing that really, really well. We're good for things. Aside from our witty banter at the beginning, we draw to natural conclusions at the end. One of the things I want to put out there as well too is, you know, the positive talk that Jillian was referencing to. That doesn't mean everything's all hippy skippy. Yay, there's flowers everywhere. Positive
Yeah.
talk is not about always being positive. It's about knowing that whenever there is a struggle, it's that there is something coming with that as well too. So an example would be, I just to be blunt, or a bad example in that it's not well nuanced, but in trying to be a healthier form of myself, well, I'm trying to cut down on some foods. So what does that mean? That means that in the moments where I would normally have a snack, I'm saying, no, that's not what, you don't get that now. I tell myself no, so I can tell myself yes later, which is, yes, I'm now becoming the person I'm striving to become. Positive talk is being able to tell yourself no in a space to be able to become a healthier version of yourself later. So if you are in a space where your brain is saying, well, you're never going to get any better than this, so you might as well just, you know, go with that person to fill that void. You tell yourself no now so that you can have the positive coming down the road. When will come down the road? I don't know. There's a reason fast food, you can get it fast, but it's rarely good for you. And sometimes we can fill the voids of our relationships in the same way. So positive talk isn't always about you're great, you're perfect, you're wonderful. It's kind of like a spotter when you're pushing hard weight and they're saying, come on, do this. You can do it.
Yeah.
Why? You do the hard now. You say the no now so you can say the yes later.
Yeah. Positive self-talk is kind of also too like a nurturing coach.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or sometimes it can also be the kick your butt, like we could do this. What are you doing? You could do this. Get up.
Let's go. Keep going.
Let's go. You know,
One
don't
more.
sit down.
Let's go.
Yeah.
When I was coaching kids at track and field, you know, I made them run negative laps. And I loved doing this because I would inevitably tell them, because nobody teaches you how to throw a discus or a shot put as a kid. When you're given a discus, it looks like a frisbee. We all know how we throw a frisbee like this. Well, if you do that with the discus, you're going to kill somebody. And with the shot put, it's a cannonball. If you try throwing it like this, your whole arm's just going to go, it's going to fall off. So you got to learn new. And inevitably, when you're learning new, when they're high school kids, they're 13, 14, 15, 16, their bodies are obviously completely developed. They know what their bodies are doing the whole time. And what happens is whenever they beat themselves up because they're not going to figure it out, I had one kid, I got so mad at him because I knew he had talent to do it. He couldn't get out of his own damn head. And every time he would try something I would help coach him on, he wouldn't get. I'm never going to get this. And so one time I said, that's it. What? I said, next time I hear you say anything negative about yourself, you're running 2 laps till I feel better about it. I went, what? I said, yeah, I'm going to make you run till I feel better about your lie. He goes, what do you mean? I said, because you can get this. And until you stop thinking negative about yourself, you're never going to believe you can. He thought I was joking. 2 minutes later, he said, told you I'm never getting this. Run. I stopped the entire practice. I shut everything down. I said, you run. Head coach comes over and goes, what happened? And I told him, he said, that's a brilliant idea. He said, I'm taking that.
Mhm.
That's what this is whenever you stop thinking the negative about yourself, you give yourself the opportunity to grow and do things you never thought possible. For the record, that kid went on to win districts as well too. That's what he had but if I'd have let him believe the negative shit he kept telling himself, there never would have happened.
Yeah.
That's all I taught him, was how to think better about himself. He figured out the rest.
Yeah.
Talk
I
is
love-
powerful.
I love the quote, if I think I can, I'm right. If I think I can't, I'm right.
Mhm.
Either way, you're right. So
Mhm.
whichever, you just gotta decide which way you want to go. And then Queen Herbie, she has a song, and I've had a few Bake Bros and a few Puffs of Stizzy, so I can't really think of the full name of that
Put
song
the
at the
symbols up
moment.
now, the signs.
But
My face is melting.
Queen Herbie has
Oh,
something
yeah.
in it. She says it it takes balls to learn yourself,
Yes.
and it does. It hurts. But you have to, and she also says, but you have to trust your process and you have to be present with it all. And it's very true. You have to stay aware of what you're doing. You have to see, you can't just go based off of everything off of emotions, because that's where we get stuck in these relationships. Oh, I feel like this, because they say that, and oh my, she does this for me, and she's the best. She's so pretty. We can't do that. Those are emotions. Let's
That's
be
addictive
realistic.
personality.
Let's be realistic on our whys we
What
really
did you
want to
say?
get with each other.
That's an addictive personality. That's
Okay.
somebody who addiction stems from a whole lot of places, but there's science that shows that kind of mindset that Amber just relayed is very similar to those who are addicts of anything. And it is that mind, the chemistry works in a similar
Codependent.
way.
Yeah, you can be
Absolutely.
addicted to anything.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it could release the same chemicals in your brain, the same toxins, not toxins, kill you.
My
Hormones.
brain can kill me. That's Jillian's first t-shirt, folks. My brain can kill me. There you go. For
And it has
sale at
tried to.
You're holding her face.
mrslane.com.
And it has to.
Face like
My
this.
face is melting.
Why did you say that?
The final comment I have for this evening, and it's something I wanted to say at the
Oh my
beginning,
God.
but it
Did
was
you
so
see that?
funny.
That was like
I-
the perfect face. Did you see that? It was like,
The fact that you called that the perfect face now means I have to screen print that screen grab onto a shirt. Again, we'll find a way to make these for sale on mrslane.com/store.
yes.
Oh
There-
my God.
There was a line that Amber said at the beginning, and it's accurate, but there's also a great joke with it. And so I'm going to go with the joke as a way of concluding. But I wanted to see if there's anything else, Amber and Jillian, that you had to say for this evening.
I always got something else to say, so let's just go ahead and end it for now. We'll see you on part 3.
Deuces.
So here's the line I wanted to say. Amber said earlier on, you can take yourself out on a date. And that's true. If you take yourself out on a date, you know whether or not you're going to put out. So you know it's a good, sure thing. So give it a go. And you won't get any new STDs. See? Date
Completely
yourself.
safe. Yes.
Date
Date
yourself.
yourself.
On that happy note, you
And
crazy
you never
people
have
who
to worry about, no, I'm just saying, you never have to waste a second worrying about who's paying.
yeah, you know where those hands have been.
Exactly.
And on that happy note, folks who are still watching us at this point, you crazy kids, we very much enjoy that you've trusted us with trying to share part of our lives so that hopefully you can feel strong enough to take a step for yours. This is not a good reality we've had to be part of, but we will make it work in such a way that you know you are loved. We will support you. We will be here for you. We'll call you out gently sometimes, abrasively other times. If Amber messages you, you've probably screwed up.
Abrasively.
Sorry.
You know the
Don't know what to
abrasive
say.
is coming.
Sorry,
If
not
I
sorry.
if you get me, you'll
Love
probably get a
you.
long, wordy answer where there's eventually an answer in there. If Mrs. Lane gets you, you'll get a red pen upside the back of your head, as only a teacher can do. But whatever it takes for you to start dating again, know yourself before you know anyone else, because you're worth knowing.
Amen.